Tyrone Whitaker had dedicated 3 decades of his life to the badge, enduring the relentless churn of Kansas City's streets, breaking up fights, answering the jarring call of midnight sirens, navigating treacherous political currents, and molding fresh-faced rookies. Now, with the weight of that demanding career finally lifted, a profound yearning for peace settled within him. It wasn't just survival he craved, nor the constant grind, but simply to breathe. That elusive moment arrived on a warm Friday morning in Mon, Georgia, as he stood amidst his freshly mowed backyard, hands on his hips. His gaze swept over the pool, a testament to his own toil and ingenuity, each shimmering, clean blue ripple a silent promise of tranquility. There were no elaborate waterfalls or swim-up bars, just smooth concrete and the gentle shade of crepe myrtles, a vision of unadulterated calm. "Lord, I earned this," he murmured, wiping a bead of sweat from his brow, the sentiment a quiet prayer. As he walked back toward the house, the familiar symphony of cicadas in the trees and the soft creak of the screen door wrapped around him, a soothing balm after years of sirens, radios, and the unyielding pressure of a gun belt. This was his sanctuary, a deeply personal space carved out of years of self-sacrifice, where the concept of home finally resonated as more than just a place to rest his head. Tyrone had chosen to return to Riverside Hills, the very neighborhood where he'd chased frogs barefoot as Tiny Ty in the 70s. It was a place of decent people, wide streets, and old brick homes steeped in history. Some familiar faces remained, echoes of a simpler time, yet the neighborhood itself had subtly shifted. Across the fence lived Melanie Covington, a white woman in her mid-50s, with sharp features often concealed behind oversized sunglasses as if she were perpetually hiding from an invisible paparazzi. Her family had been a long-standing fixture, her late husband having once held the unofficial title of the block's mayor. Tyrone had never had an issue with Melanie. He didn't know her well, nor did he particularly care to. His routine was one of quiet self-possession, tending his lawn, grilling ribs on Sundays, offering polite waves, or a simple nod when courtesy dictated. The first few weeks of his retirement were smooth, a comfortable rhythm of distance between them. Then came that Monday morning. Tyrone had ventured to Warner Robins for breakfast with an old friend, returning around 10 a.m. As he pulled into his driveway, an unsettling sensation immediately prickled at him. The gate to his backyard, a boundary he had meticulously established, stood wide open. From the other side of the house, he heard it, laughter, light and careless. Instinctively, a habit ingrained from decades on the force, he crept around the side, slow and deliberate. And there they were, 2 teenage girls in bikinis, floating in his pool as if it were a public YMCA. They didn't flinch when he spoke, his voice calm but firm. "Excuse me." One of the girls, freckled with red hair, merely glanced up, mildly inconvenienced. "Oh, hey," she said. "We're almost done." Tyrone blinked, the audacity of her reply hanging in the air. Before he could articulate another word, Melanie emerged from her back door, holding a tray of lemonade, a picture of domestic bliss, as if she were hosting a garden party. "Girls," she called out, oblivious. "Don't stay too long, remember your mom's coming at 11. Then she saw Tyrone, and her smile faltered, a flicker of surprise in her eyes. "Oh, hi," she offered. "I didn't know you were back." Tyrone took a slow, deliberate breath. "Yeah, I'm back. What's going on here?" Melanie blinked behind her sunglasses, utterly unfazed. "They just wanted to cool off. It's hot, you know? Figured you wouldn't mind." Just like that. She spoke as if he were an unexpected guest in his own backyard. Words jammed in his throat for a second before he managed to speak, his voice quiet but firm. "I do mind. Next time, you ask." Melanie responded with a casual roll of her eyes and a dismissive little wave, as if swatting an annoying mosquito. "It's just water. Relax." She turned and walked off before he could utter another word, leaving Tyrone standing there, the sun beating down, but a different kind of heat simmering beneath his ribs. Tyrone didn't sleep right that night. It wasn't the explosive anger that shattered things, but a slow, persistent burn. It was the kind he'd learned to live with after years of biting his tongue to maintain peace, a quiet indignation that settled deep within him. The slow burn continued, keeping Tyrone from truly resting. The morning after the initial confrontation, he acted with the quiet precision of a seasoned officer. A solid stainless steel latch now secured the backyard gate, a physical barrier against Melanie's casual incursions. Above his garage, a motion-activated camera was discreetly angled directly at the fence line. This wasn't paranoia. It was forethought. Tyrone knew that some lessons required more than a polite word. They demanded receipts. That same evening, he consulted his cousin Denise, a lawyer in Savannah. Her words were stark and clear. She used your property without permission, that's trespassing. And if her little guests get hurt in that pool, guess who they're coming after? Tyrone already knew the answer. Him. He leaned back, staring out at the pool he'd built with his own hands, every shovel of dirt, every bead of sweat a personal investment. The thought of Melanie's casual appropriation of his hard-won peace stoked the embers of his indignation. 2 weeks passed, an uneasy quiet settling over the fence line. Melanie kept to herself, and Tyrone wondered if perhaps embarrassment had succeeded where directness hadn't. But then came a Saturday, thick with the heavy, syrupy humidity of a Georgia afternoon. Tyrone was inside, enjoying a ball game and sweet tea, when his phone chimed, motion detected, backyard camera 1. He opened the app. There she was, Melanie, in broad daylight, in a black one-piece, flip-flops, and that same smug expression. With a small tool from her pocket, she effortlessly unlocked his new latch, strolling in as if she were heading to her own private pool party. He rewound the footage 3 times, just to be sure. She settled onto a lounge chair, pulled out a book, not even bothering with a towel beneath her, claiming the space. Tyrone's jaw tightened. He didn't go outside. Not yet. Instead, he hit record on the camera feed and let it roll. 23 minutes later, she dipped her feet in the water, then, brazenly, she got all the way in, floating on her back as if daring him to react. A minute later, his phone buzzed again, a text from Calvin, his neighbor 2 doors down. Hey man, is that your neighbor in your pool again? Tyrone's reply was terse. Yep. Got it on camera. Calvin's single-word response, wow, echoed the absurdity of the situation. In that moment, something within Tyrone shifted. The mild embarrassment and confusion dissipated, replaced by a laser-like focus. This wasn't about water or heat or convenience anymore. It was about entitlement, that quiet, smug kind that walks into your yard without asking and challenges you to object. Tyrone waited. He watched Melanie finish her dip, towel off, and walk her dripping self right back through the gate, locking it behind her as if nothing untoward had happened. The camera, his silent witness, captured every second. That evening, he printed the footage, saved the video to a thumb drive, and placed it all in a folder meticulously labeled, Covington Incidents, Summer 25. He then began systematically researching county property lines, community bylaws, and Georgia trespassing laws. This wasn't about seeking a fight. It was about his refusal to be silenced in his own home. Later that day, he encountered Melanie near the curb. Afternoon, she said casually. You enjoy the pool? She laughed. It's just water, Ty. Don't be so uptight. He met her gaze, his voice low and unwavering. You ever step foot in my yard again without permission, we'll have a different kind of conversation. You understand? She scoffed, rolling her eyes. Whatever. It's not that serious. Tyrone said nothing else, just walked back to his house, calm and steady. But in his mind, a plan had already taken root, cold and precise. He was not a shouter, not one to create a scene, but his quiet demeanor had often been mistaken for softness. Those who knew him from his patrol days understood. He possessed a steel backbone and a relentless pursuit of receipts for everything. This situation with Melanie would be no different. A tense quiet followed the direct confrontation. For a few days, it almost felt like peace had returned, the camera remaining silent, no sign of Melanie near the fence. Tyrone even allowed himself to relax, tending his plants and cleaning the pool filters, a dangerous sliver of hope creeping in. But peace, as he knew from experience, was a fragile thing, especially when some people believed themselves untouchable. It was a Sunday afternoon, 2 weeks after their last direct exchange, when the fragile peace shattered. Tyrone had just finished cleaning the grill, about to settle down for a game, when his phone lit up, motion detected, backyard camera 1. He opened the app, expecting a squirrel or the wind, but what he saw made him stop mid-stride. Melanie Covington was back in his yard, this time not alone. She had a full folding table, a Bluetooth speaker, and 3 other women, all adults. One was setting up wine glasses, another had a tray of fruit, and Melanie herself stood by the pool in a swimsuit cover-up, sipping from a tall plastic cup, laughing as if at a private brunch party. Tyrone stared at the screen, stunned. After everything, she had walked right back into his space. This time, Tyrone didn't go outside immediately. He let the camera record every second. Then he called Calvin, his neighbor 2 doors down. "You see what's going on in my yard right now?" Calvin's instant reply confirmed it. "Yeah, man, I'm looking out my window. You want me to come over?" "No," Tyrone said. "Just stay on the line. I want someone else to witness what I'm about to do." He tucked his phone into his pocket, turned on the voice memo app, and stepped outside. The music cut off mid-song. The chatter stopped. All 4 women turned to him, their expressions ranging from surprise to annoyance, as if he were the one interrupting their gathering. Melanie, ever the first to speak, offered a weak "Oh, hey, we figured since you were inside it'd be fine." Tyrone's voice was steady, devoid of anger, but heavy with authority. "You figured wrong." He gestured slowly around the unauthorized party, his gaze sweeping over the folding chairs, the wine glasses, the fruit tray. "You've officially lost your mind." When one of the women nervously chuckled, claiming they weren't causing trouble, Tyrone turned to her. "You're trespassing. All of you." Melanie stepped forward, attempting to regain control, her voice falsely sweet. "Ty, come on, don't be dramatic." Tyrone looked her squarely in the eye. "Do you realize what you're doing? You've walked onto my property again. You brought people. You unlocked my gate again. You didn't call, didn't ask. You just came in, set up shop." When she muttered, "It's not that deep," Tyrone cut her off. "It's exactly that deep." He overheard one of her guests whisper, "He said you had permission." Tyrone's eyes narrowed. "You told them I gave you permission." Melanie hesitated. I said we'd done this before and you didn't make it a big deal." "You lied," Tyrone stated, the truth hanging in the sudden tension of the air. "I've got all of you on camera right now," Tyrone continued, his voice calm but now weighted with undeniable authority, "and audio. And I've already got a file started. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to pack up your things right now and you're going to leave. And you're never stepping foot in my yard again. Not for a party, not for a quick dip, not even to return a tennis ball. You understand me?" One of the women nodded quickly. The others began gathering their belongings. Melanie stood frozen. "And if I see you in my yard one more time," Tyrone added, "I will press charges, with video, with timestamps, and with witnesses." Melanie's mouth opened, but no words came out. They left in silence, their party abruptly over, their smugness replaced by awkward retreat. Back inside, Tyrone saved the footage, backed it up again, and updated his meticulously kept folder. Calvin called back, "That was one of the wildest things I've seen in this neighborhood ever." "I told her 3 times, Tyrone replied. "She thought I was bluffing. But now it was time to show her I wasn't." By Monday morning, Tyrone's resolve was steel. This was no longer about a pool or noise, it was about respect, or the utter lack thereof. Melanie had pushed past every boundary, acting as if none of it mattered. He called Denise again. "She's still coming into your yard?" his cousin asked, baffled. "Yep. Sunday. Had a full wine party going." Denise exhaled hard. "Ty, at this point, you don't need to wait. You've got video, witnesses, timestamps, everything. You could file today." "I'm giving her one last chance," Tyrone said. "Not for her, for me. After that, gloves off." Denise agreed, but urged him to document everything, which he already had. He printed stills from the footage, logged exact times and dates, compiled witness names, including Calvin, and assembled a full packet. Into a new envelope it went, labeled "Final Warning," along with a cease and desist letter, drafted with Denise's guidance, legal, clear, leaving no room for misinterpretation. But that wasn't the final trap. The real one was installed on Tuesday morning, a new magnetic lock on the gate, a hidden trail camera facing the other direction concealed in the hedge, and behind the pool shed, a second camera pointed toward the back porch, tucked between lattice panels. By the time he finished, there were 3 angles, all recording in 1080p. He told no one. He was loading ammo, truth, proof, silence, and time. Then, he waited. Thursday and Friday passed uneventfully. Saturday rolled around, hot, humid, the kind of weather that brought sweat to your neck before noon. Tyrone enacted his plan. He pretended to leave, drove his truck around the corner, and parked it on a side street. Then, he walked back quietly through a side gate Calvin had unlocked for him. Inside his house, fan blowing, camera feeds open on his phone, he didn't move. He just watched. At 2:37 p.m., it happened. Melanie, alone this time, no guests, no wine. She walked straight up to the fence, looked around, and tried the latch. Locked. She pulled something from her bag, a small, pocket-sized wrench, and fumbled with the lock for 20 seconds. Click. She opened it. Tyrone's phone vibrated, trail camera triggered. He watched her walk in, flip-flop slapping, towel slung over her shoulder. She stretched, walked to the edge of the pool, and dipped her foot in. That's when Tyrone stepped outside. She didn't even hear him until he was standing right behind her. "Don't move," he said. She jumped, whipping around as if caught shoplifting. "Oh, I didn't know you were home." "You broke into my property," he said, holding up his phone, the camera feed still recording. Melanie's mouth opened, then shut. "I've got you on 3 cameras. Breaking the lock, entering, trespassing. You told people I gave you permission. Lied to them. Lied to me." She held up her hands, a futile gesture. "Look, Ty, let's not blow this up. I just thought. You didn't think. That's the problem." Her expression shifted from fake sweet to fake confused. "I mean, honestly, you're being a little extreme. It's not like I vandalized anything." "You broke into my property," he repeated, his voice firmer now. "You bypassed the lock. That's criminal trespass, Melanie, and it's on video." She blinked. "You're not really going to call the cops, are you?" Tyrone reached into his back pocket and handed her the envelope. She took it, confused, and opened it slowly. Her eyes moved across the page, photos, dates, the legal letter. "What is this?" "That's your final warning from a licensed attorney. Keep that as a souvenir." Melanie's voice dropped to a whisper. "Ty, come on, no more, Ty. We're not friends. We're neighbors, and you've made it real clear you don't respect that." She stood frozen, the paper trembling in her hand. "You come in my yard again," Tyrone said. "I won't be talking. I'll be filing, and there will be no warnings left." He turned and walked back inside, leaving her standing there, exposed by the truth. What Tyrone didn't expect was Melanie's next move. 3 days of quiet followed, a deceptive calm that almost made Tyrone believe, just maybe, the final warning had landed. He even caught himself relaxing, watering his plants, cleaning the pool filters, his guard subtly lowering. Then came Tuesday. It began with a gentle knock at the door, 3 soft taps. Tyrone peeked through the blinds to see Officer Bentley and Officer Salgado, both in uniform, on his porch. He opened the door slowly. "Mr. Whitaker?" Bentley asked. "That's me." They had received a call from Melanie, who claimed she felt threatened by him after their weekend confrontation. Tyrone didn't flinch. "Yeah," he said, "I've been expecting this." He invited them inside, handed over his ID and a USB stick. "Everything you need is on that drive," he explained. "Multiple video clips, dates, time logs, audio. You'll find she entered my yard without permission multiple times, including unlocking a locked gate and holding unauthorized gatherings. Last visit was this past Saturday, documented, recorded, and witnessed." Bentley's eyebrow rose. "You've been keeping a file." "I don't play about my property or my peace," Tyrone stated. They watched the videos on his laptop. Melanie laughing in his pool, then breaking the gate lock with a tool, then lying to her guests while sipping wine like the queen of his block. She's been warned, Tyrone added. Legally, on paper. I've got a cease and desist filed through my cousin, Denise Carrigan, an attorney in Savannah. The officers sat back. Honestly, Salgado said, this is more than most folks do. You've covered yourself. Bentley nodded. We're going to write this up. There's no sign of any threat or confrontation that would hold up as harassment, at least not from your end. As they left, Bentley added, off the record, looks like she picked the wrong one. Tyrone exhaled, not with relief, but with clarity. This wasn't over. Melanie hadn't just trespassed. She tried to flip the script, paint herself as the victim, and call the cops first, hoping they'd see a black man standing his ground and assume the worst. It stung, not because he hadn't expected it, but because he knew how dangerous such a move could be. The next day, another knock, but this time it wasn't the police. It was Mr. Waller, a soft-spoken man from the neighborhood association board, holding a folder. Tyrone offered him a seat. Waller cleared his throat. Miss Covington sent a complaint to the board, he explained, claimed you've been aggressive, intimidating, and, her words, territorial. Says it's creating tension on the block. Tyrone didn't react. He simply handed him a second copy of the same USB. Here. Before you get too deep into her version of things, watch that. Mr. Waller slid on his glasses, opened the laptop, and began watching. 5 minutes later, he leaned back, letting out a slow whistle. She didn't mention any of this. She wouldn't, Tyrone said quietly, because it makes her look like what she is. Waller nodded. We've had a few complaints about her over the years, nothing major, just little things, petty arguments, HOA line crossing. You've done everything by the book. I'll be filing a statement with the board. If she continues, we'll escalate it from our side as well. Tyrone thanked him. That evening, he finally allowed himself to sit in the backyard alone, feet in the water, sunset fading over the trees. For the first time in weeks, there was silence. No splashing, no laughter from strangers. Just still air and his thoughts. The following morning, something truly unexpected happened. Another knock. He opened it slowly. Melanie. No sunglasses, no wine cup. She stood small, holding a yellow envelope. I came to apologize, she said softly. Tyrone waited. I didn't realize how far I'd gone, or how it must have looked. I was wrong. You had every right to be upset. Still, Tyrone waited. I spoke with someone from the board and the police. I know now this could have gone very differently if you weren't who you are. And that scares me. Tyrone took the envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter, no excuses, just acknowledgement, and a note offering to replace the broken gate lock. I'll stay on my side, she added, from now on. He nodded. You should have done that from the beginning. Melanie turned and walked away without another word. Tyrone knew the lesson wasn't for her alone. A week later, the neighborhood felt different, not because it had physically changed, but because Tyrone was no longer carrying the weight. He wasn't looking over his shoulder, wasn't waiting for the gate to creak open. He'd done what needed doing, he'd held the line, and people noticed. Calvin dropped by with ribs, grinning. You know, he said, handing over a foil tray, you did something a lot of folks around here wouldn't have had the nerve to do. I didn't do it for them, Tyrone replied. I did it so I could sleep. But they saw it, all of it, Calvin insisted. Some of them were watching to see if you'd lose it, blow up, do something reckless. But you didn't. That's what she wanted. She wasn't just testing boundaries. She was testing me, seeing how far she could go before I snapped. And when you didn't, that hit her harder than anything else you could have done. Later that evening, Tyrone walked the block, greeting neighbors. Some waved longer than usual, some gave a nod of respect. No one mentioned Melanie, but they didn't have to. She hadn't set foot outside her house in days. Tyrone didn't gloat, didn't celebrate. He just kept doing what he always did. Kept his lawn clean, his fence locked, and his peace intact. And perhaps that was the part that shook her most. People like Melanie don't expect the quiet ones to win. They expect them to fold, to stay silent, to avoid causing trouble. But there comes a time when a person has to choose dignity over comfort, Truth over quiet, boundaries over approval. Tyrone chose all three. He wasn't the loudest, but he was steady, he was sharp, and most of all, he was done letting other people write the rules in his own yard. He didn't need Melanie to become his friend. He didn't even need her to like him. All he needed was for her to respect the fence. And now, she finally did. Life doesn't always hand you peace. Sometimes you have to build it, protect it, stand firm in it, even when people test you, underestimate you, or push you to break. Tyrone didn't break. And that became the story folks remembered. Not just that she trespassed, but that he stood still, that he didn't let someone else's arrogance drag him down, that he reminded everybody, quietly but clearly, that being calm doesn't mean being weak.